From London, this is Piers Morgan Uncensored.
Welcome to a special edition of Piers Morgan Uncensored. Cristiano Ronaldo is a football megastar. In my opinion, the greatest player to ever grace the game. He's also one of the most famous people on the planet. He's had the toughest year of his life, on and off the pitch, facing personal tragedy and a barrage of criticism from fans, pundits, even his own coaches. Everyone else has had their say. Now, it's his turn. And Cristiano is most definitely uncensored.
Because I think it's the time to say something. And because I like you. As simple as that. Well, don't say that.
Welcome back to the Football Terrace, people. It's part one of one of the most anticipated interviews in football history. I'm going to give you some chunks of it. Of course, the full link to the interview is in the description, as there should be. But hit the like button, hit the share button, and let me know what you think and feel. And there is a big claim as well that's been missed by many people in the last 24 hours about Ten Hag. Of course, that segment is coming later. But let's take a little look at some of the things that Cristiano Ronaldo has had to say. And one of the biggest points is him being close to joining Manchester City and why he picked Manchester United. Let's take a little look at this.
Last summer, you're at Juventus, and there's massive speculation about where you're going to go. And the big rumour is that you're going to go to Manchester City. So first of all, how close was that to happening?
Well, honestly, it was close. It was close. It's something that...
Remember this, when he rejoined Man United, the kind of talk he pushed down, and never going to join Man City, was never really an option. Now he's telling us that it was close.
They spoke a lot, and Guardiola say 2 weeks ago, I guess, that they try hard to have me. But as you know, as my history in Manchester United, your heart, your feeling, the history that you did before make the difference. And of course, as well, Sir Alex Ferguson. So I was surprised in the same way, but it was conscious decision because the heart speaking loud.
So look, Ronaldo speaking there at why he rejoined Man United over City. You know, he wanted to join. This was something that was kind of romantic to him. You know, the club that I know Sporting Lisbon started him, Man United were going to get the opportunity to kind of take him to that next level. We've seen the criticism from him about the lack of technology, the way the club hasn't advanced. My question to Ronaldo, if I was Piers Morgan, would have been, well, what due diligence did you do? What research did you do? You've got Bruno Fernandes at the football club, who's a friend of yours from the Portugal squad. You've got young Delo. Mendes, your agent, is one of the most influential people out there. Could you not find out this information? Could you not do your research to see how far back the club had fallen? Why did you, barring romance, what was it that convinced you this was the right place for you to potentially end your career? That's really what I would like to have sort of posed to Ronaldo as a question there, because just accepting that seemed a little bit meek from me. Here's another segment from the show.
The last 4 or 5 months that not only for me, but even for my family as well, for Georgina, especially around the world, the press criticized me even more. Sometimes I don't understand why. Even Portuguese press, that they criticize me a lot. I don't understand, but I still believe that the jealousy is part of that.
See, I've got to stop Ronaldo there. People are not criticizing you due to jealousy. Now, you may get rivals that have said you've been overrated for years, didn't rate you for years. They're using your 37-year-old self as, I told you he was never that good. But nobody takes those people seriously. The criticism you're getting is that in the last 12 months, the teams that you play in regress. Your inability to run, your inability to press. and this isn't even detrimental to you, Cristiano, but your body doesn't work at your age as it did 5 years ago, as it did 10 years ago. And that's completely understandable. But you're getting to a point where even with goals, you take your teams backwards. That's where the criticism is coming from. And so far, having watched this interview, and of course, you're getting bite-sized chunks, my take from this is legitimately this guy is living in denial. Now, I told you yesterday, I'm not going to go into the stuff about his kids when it's come to, in this section, because I don't think it's relevant. In this part 1 of the episode, he never speaks about any of those things. For me, this is a man that cannot accept that his best years are behind him.
They want to cover many things that helps to shine other things. But listen, Piers, I know I'm 21 years in the top of the game, so I know how it takes. So for me, it's not a problem. It's hard when you are a little bit down to listen to this criticism.
Do you read it all? Do you read newspapers? Do you read
Of course he reads it all, Piers. That's how he knows what they've been saying.
social media?
A good thing that I have, it's I don't like to read because I know 90% of the times they lie. They are garbage. The press, they are garbage.
So I get where he's coming from. There are a lot of lies put out there by the media, but there is a difference between a media outlet saying Cristiano Ronaldo is looking slow and looking sloppy because he's not training, because he doesn't like his teammates, they're not as good as him, and you know he's angry at Man United because he hasn't got his own private dressing room that's laced in white cloth, and there's 10 little white puppies and burning scented candles when he arrives. I get he doesn't agree with that. But what he should be reading is the genuine criticism, especially from the fans that he has already in his interview said are always right, that you're just not what you were as a player anymore.
Not all of them, but most of them, they don't say the truth. And they lie. They constant lie and they constant attack me and my family. They're always negativism against my family. Why I'm gonna read? Because I know they try to make me feel bad, me and my...
Yeah, and I understand that element. The lies about him and his family is one thing, but the criticism about him as a footballer, I think somebody has to teach Cristiano Ronaldo to separate those two things. Now, what we've also seen him do is really attack the appointment of Ralf Rangnick. And in the interview, he speaks about how Ralf Rangnick, I want to make sure I say this in the right way. He speaks about how Ralf Rangnick wasn't a coach. He's a sporting director. He doesn't understand how he was ever given the job or the role. But then goes on to say this about Oli, and this is very, very interesting to me.
Which is when the soccer Oli Solskjaer, you should bring a top manager, not sport director.
Did you think he was right to get rid of Solskjaer, or would you have kept him on?
Well,
let me just say this very quickly. We're still missing the context of why we brought in Ralf and not a top manager. We wanted Ten Hag, who, by the way, he's also kind of slagged off in this interview by saying that he didn't really know who he was. He'd heard of him, but not by very much. But we brought in Ralf because Ten Hag wasn't available at that time. That shouldn't be lost.
Not well. I love Solskjaer. I think he was a top person because what I keep inside my heart, it's the heart of the persons. And Oli for me is a top person. Coach, of course, he wasn't. He didn't look for what he wants. It's hard to assume after Sir Alex Ferguson, but I think he did a good job. For sure, he need more time, but I'm never doubt that he's gonna be a good coach in the future. But it was a good experience. I was.
See, what I see here with Ronaldo, and I understand there's like dressing room code. He doesn't want to slag off an old teammate. It's probably why he's angry at Rooney and Gary Neville. And I completely and utterly understand that. But for me, this is Oli played me, Oli loved me, Oli put me up as a superstar. Ralf Rangnick went to the board almost day one and said, you're not going to progress with Ronaldo. This is about Ronaldo's ego. His ego not being massaged. And that's what I took really from part one. Yes, he talks about the youngsters and youngsters not being as dedicated as they used to be. And I don't really have a major issue with that personally. I don't really. I kind of look at that from the point of view of he's entitled to that opinion. Should he be talking about the Man United youngsters? Should he be talking about the players in that way? Not for me. But this overarching interview is a player who is fading in the game, but has a huge ego and one of the biggest resumes ever. You could argue the most famous football player ever if you look at his social media following and the amount of fans that he's got. Whether you think he's better than Messi or not, that's entirely and utterly up to you. But this is a man for me that has fallen from grace. This is a man for me, as in his footballing grace. This is a man who is frustrated and angry and annoyed that he isn't the player that he once was. And he cannot take the heat in the kitchen. He cannot take the criticism. And he's really lashing out. And that's what I saw in this in part one. The element for me, though, that about this interview that's gone unnoticed is the underlying attack on Erik ten Hag, which is supposedly coming in part two. Piers Morgan has stated that Man United are not a good team under Erik ten Hag. They're fifth in the league and are in the playoffs for the Europa League, which is embarrassing. They were better under Jose Mourinho. Now, this is for me a big part of this. There's an opportunity in here for Piers Morgan, yes, to interview the most famous football player in the world, but there is also the element of taking a dig at Man United and to prop up his, I think the second half of the interview, which is coming later today, to prop up Ronaldo's opinion. He's also got to slag off Ten Hag. They're not a good team. They're not playing very well. They're not moving in the right direction, etc., etc., etc. And I think for me, Man United fans will see through this. I've seen some online agree, and United are not an amazing team at the moment under Ten Hag, but there has been progression. We have more points after 14 games than we did this time last year, as an example. We're competing better in the big games against the big teams, and we're undoing. The irony is these same people said that under Jose and under Ollie, we regressed massively. We went backwards. The regression was huge. This guy's pulling us back from that point. But of course, there is an underlying message here that Ronaldo, in my opinion, is going to get across tonight that Ten Hag maybe isn't the guy. You've seen that the Souneses and the Piers Morgans of this world, the Kevin Petersons, who have said, who is Ten Hag? He'll be forgotten about in 5 years in football. Ronaldo's a god. He should be listened to. They are pushing for this player power narrative. And of course, it doesn't impact any of them because they're not Man United fans. They don't care where Man United are in 12 months, 6 months, 9 months, 10 years. They don't give a damn. And I think that we need to watch out for this as Man United fans. We may not be at the peak of our powers right now, but we're never going to be 5 months into Ten Hag's reign. But if player power wins this and Ronaldo wins this battle, I don't think it's ever going to return personally. But look, I want your thoughts and I want your feelings on part one of this interview. Leave them in the comments section below. Please download the OneFootball app as well. But until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very soon. Thank you.